Hello, everybody. Welcome to the soft launch of the new office/set. There's still a lot of work to do, but I had put it in my mind. This is the day I wanted to do it. The deadline by which I wanted to do it. I wanted it to be done way earlier. Still has a lot of work to go, but new set. Yay. Okay. So, as you know, if you watched my most recent video, or maybe you didn't and you still know this, HBO done made a documentary about the Free BAM movement, about BAM Margera's recovery, sobriety, etc. And I do want to show y'all the most recent press release type article thing that I came across. Just a little excerpt of it. It says, however, the episode also introduces conflict as online advocate BJ questions Lima's motives. That's better than attacks. Thank you. BJ's criticisms spark a fierce debate about the best ways to help those dealing with addiction. This confrontation, I don't know what the confrontation is. I don't know what the confrontation is exactly. I don't know what they're talking about. But they're saying this confrontation adds tension to the narrative, showcasing differing opinions on treatment and support. Okay, well, if that's what this documentary is going to be about, I think that's fair. I mean, as long as they accurately depict everything, I think that's fair. It does seem like something worth making a documentary about. What is the best way to help a loved one or anyone struggling with addiction? And if that is the purpose of this documentary, sign me up, because I am open to hearing different ideas about how to help someone struggling with addiction. In my opinion, in my belief, morally, ethically, and also, I think legally, again, my opinion, it is not acceptable or appropriate in a civilized society to help your loved one by participating, for example, in a multiple-year nationwide manhunt whereby you enlist all the jurisdictions of police officers that you can get your hands on and use them as your personal property catchers to then force them into a rehab. I don't believe that's acceptable or appropriate. Now, I understand, acknowledge, and appreciate that not everybody shares that sentiment. Indeed, and in fact, I would imagine BAM's parents, April and Phil Margera, for example, they wanted to help BAM by, in my opinion, doing just that, kind of a situation where I just described. There's a lot of debate going back and forth about a conservatorship or a guardianship or a healthcare guardian or a power of attorney and all. There's a lot of discussion going back and forth right now about that. But I would just like to call to your attention or remind you, if you already knew, BAM Margera's conservatorship was over in June 10th, 2022. Even after that date, April Margera told police officers that BAM had a guardian. I'll put the body camera footage in right here so you can hear it yourself.
I'm just scared. He's really aggressive right now. I mean, he's mouthing to me through the window that he's going to kill me because he thinks I called you guys.
Okay, so if you knew he was on the run, why didn't you call us yesterday?
Because I have to go through Lima, and she was trying to get a court order because he's under a Marchman Act, and he's under court order.
That supposedly is expired.
Okay, no, it's new, and it's today. No, it is like today. She's been all day at the courthouse. It's like...
What courthouse?
I don't know. I mean, I can put her on the phone if you want to.
No, I have her number, and she's waiting for me to call her.
I know, but it's
because
like,
I got
please,
him to agree.
You can't leave me with him because, I don't know what's going to happen. He's so angry right now that he thinks I called you guys. I'm terrified. I'm his mother, and I'm terrified. He left his treatment center, and it's he's mouthing to me, through the wall. I'm gonna, you know what I mean? He thinks I called you guys, and I know Lima did. But it's he's a danger to himself right now because he's really, really distraught. And I mean, he needs to go back to rehab. And it's I'm scared to death. If you leave him here, I don't even know what's going to happen. Please. And he keeps saying that he's going to jump off the building. It's a whole thing. When did he say that? Just about a half hour ago.
At the time of the footage that you just saw, Bam was not in anything, a conservatorship, a guardianship, none of that. It was being represented to police that he was. The same way whenever Stephen B. Timmer called the police on Bam back in September 2021.
I have a client who's we have a monthly pickup order for him, and he has a woman that's kind of his minder. He arrived from Orlando to back to the hotel about 3 or 4 o'clock this morning, started attacking her. She just let me know, and they're doing cocaine in the room. He's got like a prostitute or some woman like that in the room as well.
Later that day.
So this is an ex parte Marchman pickup order for this guy, and but guy's up there in 225. His name is Brandon Margera, but he goes by Bam from that show Jackass.
Yeah.
And he's got a woman up. There's a woman named Missy who is his minder, and she like somebody looks after him and takes caretaker. And so she's been trying to keep him sober, and he has another woman in there. He attacked her because she wouldn't get breakfast, and she said she thinks he ripped her breast implant, and so she came running down here, called me, said get somebody over here right away.
Okay, who are you to him or them?
I'm an interventionist, and I was hired to get him to treatment.
Okay.
So
You were hired by Miss...
by the trustee. There's a trust. You'll see a trust. He has a guardian, and
Gotcha.
the guardian hired me to get him help.
Okay.
The woman you hit,
She's up in the room.
she's back in the room right now?
Yeah.
So there's a physical altercation in the room right now?
Well,
Or
he
was-
hit her, and she's like cowering or something.
But they're both in the room together?
That's how long Bam's been dealing with this crap. We have the benefit of hindsight. Did any of that help Bam? Ask Bam yourself. He'll say no.
What up, CJ? It's Bam Margera here. Now I'm in Sarasota, Florida. I have completely graduated from all the 10 rehabs that I've been to against my will. I got caught in something called the Florida Shuffle. Then as soon as I got to Florida, I said, I haven't seen my son in 200 days. If I don't see him, I'm going to jump off a building. Well, they thought I was going to kill myself. If you've seen my movie Jump Off a Building, all I do is jump off of buildings into pricker bushes and pools. So they didn't listen to that. So then I had to do 90 days. Then I almost completed that. Then I had to do another 90 days, transferred to... Then they said, you've been rocking the same pants for a week. And I said, I'm not trying to get... They threw me out of there for bad hygiene. Then I went to owner, was on the newspaper for embezzling money from clients. And I was a client, so I was like, I'm not going to support this. So I hopped the fucking wall there. At Life Skills, I broke my elbow falling down the stairs on new medication. And they wouldn't call me an ambulance, so I hopped the wall there. And I just been doing this shit for a year and a half, and I found out every time I escape or leave, my guardian, who I thought was on my side, would find out my location, because either I would tell her or she would track down my GPS on my phone and get me re-Baker acted and sent back to the loony bin, and then 10 days of detox when I have nothing to detox. I did a fucking year without alcohol, and then...
You don't want to believe Bam? Fine. Don't. Have you seen any negative press from insiders about Bam recently? Have you heard any crazy stories about Bam recently? Has he been arrested? Has he been picked up that you know about? Yes, a few months ago he was. Something happened, he got put in jail, and you will notice when that happened, I wasn't screaming about free Bam. No. Because what happened is what I said should always have happened. If someone is committing a crime, violating probation, violating agreements that they made, if someone is doing something that approximates on criminal, they should go to jail and serve time as criminals have to do. We shouldn't have this whole separate set of laws that assigns private parties who aren't really subjected to the same accountability as, say, for example, a jail would be. And I understand it's not a freaking picnic over there. But at the very least, there's like some black and white rules written down that you could at least try to go to court on. This private guardianship, private guardian, private conservator industry, it's right at the heart of the biggest wealth transfer in our human recorded history. Right now, we are in the midst of the biggest generational wealth transfer in this country's history, and I believe in world history. I don't know. Y'all can look it up. Trillions of dollars that old people earned, rich people earned, being transferred to their children and their grandchildren and their heirs and assigns. You know who might like to get their hands on that money before your heirs and assigns? The probate courts, professional guardians, guardianship lobbyists.
Will the victims of guardianship abuse be able to see any sort of criminal charges against folks involved in the system who might have been abusive towards them, such as attorneys?
Not a part of this legislation, correct, Charlie?
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be, oh my God. This to me is the government realizing all of a sudden how much money there really is in conservatorships and wanting a little bit of piece of this pie for themselves.
About 1.5 million Americans are now under guardianship or conservatorship, and they could be impacted. Tonight, we're joined by the bill's co-sponsor, Representative Nancy Mace, Republican from South Carolina. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, Congresswoman.
Now, to bring it back down to scale, what tonight's documentary is about. It's been unclear to me exactly what it's about, although it's started to become clearer that it is about the free BAM movement and about my opinions, my stance, my efforts, but also the juxtaposition of that. Lima's idea of what help is, what help means, how to help a loved one struggling with addiction. Without getting too far in the weeds, a lot of y'all already know this. Speaking of people who know firsthand from loved ones, in 2017, I lost my father to a drug addiction. Like, he'll never be at my wedding, any of his kids' wedding. Never meet any of his grandkids. Didn't get to see me finish law school. Doesn't get to see what I'm doing today. Doesn't get to, for example, watch this documentary coming out tonight. And there were definitely times where I felt like, if only I could have done something. It seems so preventable, you know, like, I certainly had the thought even before he passed. I would try to tell him, to stop doing stuff that was unhealthy. I mean, I didn't know the extent, right? But I would say, you know, Dad, you need to stop smoking cigarettes. It's bad for you. You smoke a lot of them. And it's like not becoming to be addicted like that. You know, like. And I'll tell y'all one thing. My dad would not give a flying rat. He did not want to hear nobody telling him what to do. Now, if it was something about something else, like something concerning me or something concerning something else, he was very cooperative. But when it came to something that really wasn't like fully, and it does affect other people, right? It affected me. It affects my life. It affects my kids' life. It affects my sister's kids' life. It affects everything forevermore and always that my dad died at 47 years old. Even with that, I still have to say, the answer to helping him wasn't to take away his choice in the matter. I believe that one of the sort of reasons for life, or what's the point of life? Like, one of those points of life is my belief, totally just my belief. But I believe it's a very important, necessary component of our being alive is to have the freedom to make our own choices, including our own mistakes. Now, at the same time, I think a very important point of life is all of us living together and figuring out how to make it work where there's other people, there's other humans. What do you do? So there's obviously many interests that have to be balanced here. You can't just let somebody just run amok in a society. You can't let someone just run free doing crimes. You can't let someone run free, for example, like setting fires or destructive or violent actions. Obviously, we won't be able to build up a society because any one crazy lunatic can just tear it down in a moment's notice. So there do need to be limits and boundaries. And I do think it is appropriate. The more people are compressed within one little area, the more boundaries might have to be put in place. I mean, look at the subways in New York right now. Need I say more? Need I say more? However, I do understand and acknowledge and appreciate other people can still have different opinions on this matter than me. And I have to acknowledge that because a lot of people do. A lot of people disagree with me. They think the point of life is to stay alive as long as possible. And even if that means with no freedom and no autonomy and no choice, and you're on somebody else's drug of choice and you can't leave, some people think that's the best way to help somebody. I just don't. So maybe, I don't know, the best way to help somebody might be Aura, virtual reality exposure therapy on Skid Row. How would I know? So I think a fierce debate about the best ways to help those dealing with addiction is exactly what we need. Because from the looks of things, from where I'm sitting, looking like they, meaning people on the other side of this debate than me. Okay, that's what I mean. People who disagree with my position. It looks like what they would prefer to have is a nanny state where people are not truly free at all. They want kid gloves society. And I just don't feel like that is where the heart of the people lies. If we, the people, are not entitled the right to make our own choices, and therefore meaning necessarily to make our own mistakes, including self-destructive, that opens the door to a very slippery slope. Right now, the door is closed. You can't even get onto the ski lift to get onto the slippery slope, all right? But as soon as we, the people in the United States, I'll say for this one, collectively agree that the United States Constitution doesn't actually prohibit this, which I believe it does. I believe the United States Constitution prohibits this type of activity. I could get into the reasons why I don't think it's gone to the Supreme Court yet. That's neither here nor there at the moment. But let's say you're one of those people wants to open that door at the top of the slippery slope. What you're saying is, if somebody is making choices that are self-destructive in a way that I think they shouldn't, that person deserves to lose their inalienable rights and have the rights reassigned to someone else, maybe a stranger, maybe a family member who's been your abuser your whole life, maybe some random professional guardian like Sabrina Morrissey. Who knows if you'll get a choice in it? I believe the Constitution prohibits all that. But if you're one of the people that wants to open the door and say that it doesn't, there is nothing to stop. Oh, you're smoking too many vape pens a day. Oh, your Aura ring, your Acme ring said your cortisol levels are fast. How many times have we heard Lima say, people don't even know how to describe how they're feeling because they've never felt that feeling before.
So up next is Lima.
Our solution is data-driven healing. My name is Lima Jevremovic, and I'm the founder of Aura, telehealth for mental health.
Wow.
All right. Well, growing up, my father was very abusive to my sisters and I. I remembered everything, and that's why I wanted to go into mental health. But my sisters, identical twins, successful actresses, and YouTube stars, had no memory of the trauma. They had what's called complex PTSD. I don't know if anyone else was getting that weird feedback. 9 years ago, they began to experience symptoms of severe mental illness. They went to see a mental health professional, and that was just the beginning of the end for them. The psychiatrist had no tools to treat my sisters. He simply just asked them, "How are you feeling?" And based on my sister's description of their own psychological condition, kind of like a blind person trying to describe the color blue, a feeling that they've never felt before, they gave them they diagnosed and prescribed them.
How many times have we heard her say, if you were to scan their brain, you would see they're not feeling fine, but they're saying they're feeling fine. The brain scan knows better than you. What's to stop the brain scan from saying you are at risk for a relapse? We have to come and show up at your place of work and take you to the rehab right now because you're at risk. What is to stop that? The answer is nothing. The only thing stopping it right now is the United States Constitution. And they've been footing around, dilly-dallying around. And when I say they, I mean the people who have used these types of situations, which I do believe possibly were always set in place for this reason. I used to say stuff like, I think they started out as a good... No, I don't. Actually, no, I don't. Because the truth is, conservatorships and guardianships, they're heard in the probate court. You know, the first probate courts in the United States were the courts. Property that's a human. This is where they have trusts and estate courts today. And conservatorships, guardianships, wardships, whatever. But it really doesn't matter why they were invented in the first place, because even the well-meaning, even if I give it the benefit of the doubt, the well-meaning definition and explanation of these things is these are for emergencies. This is a very serious imposition on someone's rights, and it is for a very serious reason, like someone has dementia. They can't even remember where they're living. And they're running huge corporation. Someone's got to step in. Lives are at stake. What I do not believe is a good reason for a conservatorship, but one that I have seen, is Britney Spears not wanting to work for certain people and do certain things. So, despite all of that, even if you still are of the opinion that conservatorships and guardianships, or whatever the name is and whatever the jurisdiction, should be just passed around to any and everybody because their family said that they have an addiction, I still think you're entitled to that opinion. I strongly disagree. Let's zoom into Lima. Let's zoom into Bam Margera, Amanda Rab, the Takali twins. Now, I have seen 4 known users of Aura, of some type of forced treatment, some type of being in some type of rehab for a long time. The Takali twins had been in rehabs 60 times before I ever heard of them. Lima said she invented Aura in part to help these sisters with their mental health. They were struggling so bad. Where even is Dima? Why has Dahlia Takali gone missing many times? I mean, it's almost close to, like, I think it's about half a dozen times at this point. There was wanted posters around, missing posters around for her, March 2024. Bam Margera said he was held against his will when Lima was his guardian. I watched on body camera footage April Margera telling the police that they had some type of authority over Bam to get him taken away, which wasn't true. That guardianship had expired. Bam Margera seems to be doing pretty okay right now, wouldn't you think? Especially relative to what in the hell chaos. Just every other freaking weekend you would see him outside smoking outside a rehab. You'd see somebody's cell phone footage from across the corner of a bar, and Bam Margera, there he is acting a fool. Bam Margera escapes. Bam Margera runs away. Well, ever since he escaped and ran away and finally was free of I believe he's free of Lima Jevremovic. Last I heard he was. It seems to me, even just from an outside observer, things haven't gotten worse, for sure. And indeed, and in fact, it looks to me like they got better. So how exactly, I renew my question, was Lima helping Bam? How exactly, I renew my question, was it helpful to Bam for April Margera to be sitting there before she turned the waterworks on for the police? Before she told Bam she didn't call? Before all of that, April was sitting there with a drink with Bam, who had just escaped from rehab. He had escaped the day before. Here's April with him the next morning drinking at the bar at the hotel. Now, I didn't do a alcohol analysis on the drinks. I guess it could be water, but I mean, it's in a cocktail glass with the cocktail straw on a cocktail napkin.
Hi, Sergeant Washington with the Broward Sheriff's Office.
Hi. I'm really afraid of him. I mean, he left rehab and he needs to go back. They're trying to get him back in there, but it's like he's really just delusional. And I mean, he's been drinking. He needs to go back.
Okay.
Like he has a court order.
He doesn't want to go back to life skills.
He doesn't have to go. They have it arranged. I actually have his guardian on the phone. Lima, talk to the police officer, please.
This is Sergeant Washington with the Broward Sheriff's Office. Fine, thanks to you. What's going on?
In that same body camera footage, y'all, April Margera is pleading with these police officers, please, I'm scared for my life. You have to take him. He's crazy. She's scared for her life, scared for his life, scared something's going to happen. The same woman that was sitting there drinking what looks like to be alcoholic beverages to me minutes before. So how, again, I renew my question, was that helping? Or how about whenever I heard with my own ears, I have yet to release this call, but you know what? I just might. I didn't really see a reason to. I didn't see a good enough reason to do it before because it was like gratuitous. This is some of the worst, most vile, nasty, mean, vicious stuff I've really ever heard a parent say to a kid. And it was both of them, April and Phil, screaming on the phone to Bam. They knew I was listening too. Bam told them, I'm here with the surprise witness, blah, blah, blah. And they called me crazy too, in so many words. I don't see how that was helping Bam. And then we have, of course, Amanda Rab, who died under Lima's care in court-ordered treatment that Lima took responsibility for administering. Now, to hear Lima and Mark tell it. They saved Amanda's life, even though she died. They saved her life, actually. Because when she died, now she's a beacon of hope. This is the same person, mind you, that Lima previously referred to as a case study. I don't believe that is the appropriate or proper or acceptable way to help somebody. Amanda Rab tried to kick the windows out of Mark Leita's car, and Mark Leita admitted to it. He had tricked her. He said when she figured out, meaning she didn't think beforehand, this is where she was going, but when she figured it out in the car, she reared her legs back and tried to kick the windows out of Mark's car. Mark told Amanda's dad that.
And nothing seems to work. The 5150s, the cops pick her up and they just let her go right away.
I was cooperative. I was glad to know that I could help her manage her benefits every month so she don't just run out in a few days. But after she assaulted me the second time, I said, I have to do something differently. And then we got a call from Mark about Lima. And when I heard about someone that may help us, at the time, I had some of the professionals in the mental health field here in LA trying to help me. And I thank you, Mark, for introducing me to Lima and Ivan. What a blessing.
Yeah, and then along comes Lima. As soon as she figured out that I wasn't taking her to my studio, she backs her legs up and she's gonna kick the windows out of my car to get out of a moving vehicle. It's like, so I had to let her out.
She'll bolt. No, she'll bolt. She'll bolt. She's done that.
Yeah, she'll jump out of the car.
No, she's been injured 3 or 4 times because she jumps out of cars.
I don't think that's the way to help somebody. I've seen documentaries come and go. I've seen good ones. I've seen middle of the road ones. I've seen very bad ones. I do not know how the documentary that's coming out tonight, featuring me in it, in the free band movement, I do not know if it will be a good documentary, a bad documentary, or a middle of the road documentary. But even if it's a bad documentary, if it fulfills its supposed synopsis right here, that this sparks a debate about the best ways to help those dealing with addiction, then it's a good documentary to me. A debate is exactly what's needed right now, because so far the debate has been me getting harassed, targeted, bullied, and stalked, defamed, lied about. People clock in the morning, talk about me all day on Twitter, and clock out for the last several years. You can't say nothing nice about me on Reddit. I wonder if Jed Wallace had anything to do with that. Maybe Blake Lively would be so kind as to depose him on that question. I don't know why you can't say nothing nice about me on Reddit. I don't know why it was Steve-O seemed to make up his mind siding with Lima before he ever spoke to me, before he ever heard me out, before anything, before disparaging me, before defaming me, before frankly lying about me to his multiple millions of subscribers. Never bothered to talk to me. Same goes for Mark Laita. Before giving the public false information about 2 autopsies and all of that. Nope. I actually reached out to Mark Laita. Yes, I did. Never responded. Adam Grand Mason, millions of subscribers. He never bothered to reach out to me to ask me my opinions on the Amanda Rab thing. And indeed, and in fact, after Lima went on his podcast and lied about me and made fun of me to the millions of subscribers that Adam Grand Mason has, I reached out to him and he told me he didn't take me seriously enough to let me come on his millions of subscribers podcast and clear my name. He didn't take me seriously enough, he said. So literally the next day after I had sent him that email, I didn't really know that much about him. Maybe I didn't know anything about him really beforehand. I don't think I'd ever heard of his podcast until Lima was on it. Maybe I had. I don't remember. I don't, it's all a blur. But nobody bothered to ask me my side out of any of these very popular YouTube channels. One of them's a celebrity, Steve-O. No one bothered to ask me my side. I have been defamed, libeled, slandered, and let's not even forget about the vexatious, malicious litigation that I've had to endure. The fact that people have lied under penalty of perjury in federal court documents about me, have doxed me whenever we could have just had a debate. So now I really hope a debate is sparked, because what I really think Lima and whoever is or perhaps was financing her vexatious slap litigation, for which now she owes nearly $100,000 in sanctions and attorney's fees and costs. What I suspect is that they were trying to silence me, to throw an ocean of water on this little light of mine. That is what I suspect. That litigation, the Reddit PR campaign, which I believe was targeted and orchestrated to defame me, to create and seed and, dare I say, astroturf a certain narrative about me. The fake bot accounts, and the anonymous accounts, which are not bots, who do nothing all day but keep me on their mind. Steve-O did not want to debate me. Adam Grand Mason did not want to debate me. Lima has not wanted to debate me. And Mark Leta has not. Now, look, listen, I don't need to be the one debating. I kind of been at this for a while. So if y'all could grab the torch and just hold it up here, just take a little fire from here and go, and you can go debate in your own life, because this is exactly what is needed. A fierce debate about what is appropriate to do, about how it is appropriate to help your loved one. A fierce debate is in order. And I said it before, I'll say it again. I'm not thrilled, particularly, about the way that the documentary is kind of framing this, like, Legally Blonde, like, versus, like, here's Johnny, Pearl, axe murder, like, dichotomy. You know, I'm not thrilled about it. But I'm really only here to do the work of the Lord, okay? And if the Lord needs there to be some weird juxtaposition, dichotomy, whatever, like, go ahead. I'm not the one with the axe. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to be shamed for appreciating and being inspired by Elle Woods. I mean, that was one thing too that I did already kind of mention, but I do think some people think someone even said in the comments, like, what happened to professionalism? Well, good question. I was born to very, very young parents. I mean, I'm not sure they were both teenagers by the time I was born, but it was one of those type of situations. Okay. My dad is exactly 20 years older than me, type of thing. And I come from working class people, like blue collar, like farmers, iron workers, welders, woodworker. My great grandpa, he built cabinets and shrimp. He would do offshore shrimping, sell the shrimp, trade the shrimp for deer backstrap or whatever. There was no lawyer in my family. There was no real professional like that in my family. No one who had really gone to college even, much less graduated. My dad didn't even finish high school. My mom finished high school and had me the next year. And remember, this is like 2001. Like Lizzie McGuire and stuff was all on TV, like that type of thing. I don't know if she was at that point, that exact year, but you know what I mean? Like that, like, is what I grew up on. I'm a millennial. So it's this girl power. Girls are going to save the day. And then right in the middle of all of that, I think I'm 11 years old, 12 years old, they drop Legally Blonde on us. Girl, that was a character that I aspired to be. I was a kid, a child. Like how, you know, boys watch Superman or whatever. It's like, I knew 10 years old, 11 years old, I knew I was going to college. I knew I had to make good grades so I could go to college. I wanted to go to college. My parents could have given up less if I went to college. I remember my mom, she was just telling me the other day that we had it was my 9th grade or my 10th grade year. I don't remember, it was freshman or sophomore year of high school. And I had won a bunch of awards, you know, the academic excellence awards. I always did. I was very like, you know, my mom went to that high school. My grandpa went to that high school. Okay. So it was like, you know, whatever. You can kind of like, it's a community high school. And my mom told me just the other day, she was like, it was that ceremony where they just kept calling you up over and over and over again, that I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, she is definitely going to go to college. Oh, okay. And my mom said like, that was kind of strange, but like she was supportive. But I say all that to just say, I have been my own propeller through stuff because I wanted to do it. It wasn't like somebody was pressuring me. And I knew that it was going to be difficult. I anticipated it was going to be challenging. I didn't really know how I was going to even get through it, like going to college, for example. And I did want to be a lawyer. I did. I wanted to. I wanted to know the law. I wanted to know my rights. I wanted to have some type of power to stand up for myself. So watching the Legally Blonde movie, you know, as a kid, it was like, okay, well, she's going through challenges, albeit different ones than me. People are kind of like, they don't get her. She's quirky, but I liked her. I liked how she was. She was kind and, you know, maybe some might say naive, but I like that. It means this dark, disgusting world didn't get to you. Don't you remember being a kid and watching movies and there's like these old stodgy, stuffy, grown-up adults that are just stank faced all the time? It's like I'm watching people in our age group kind of evolve into that, you know, Pokemon evolution. I refuse. I'm grown. I'm a grown up. I'm an adult, but I don't want to be so affected by this open air clown prison that I'm now miserable. No, I refuse. I do not consent. And I kind of felt like Elle Woods was very defiant in that way. She could tell that people were making fun of her. She could have easily, just like she went and bought that computer to take those notes, just like she swiped that card for that, she could have swiped her card for some boring clothes. Did she do that? No. And that was a character I could aspire to be like. And I'm not alone. I'm not alone. I guarantee you like 50% of female millennial lawyers in some way, shape, or form somehow have been or still are to this day inspired by that character because it literally created and presented a paradigm shift. Like, oh, it's scented? We can do that? And the professor's like probably gonna like just take the, like, even if it's, oh, it's scented, even if it's pink, even if you're wearing a pink suit, but you're the valedictorian, you still get the job? Oh, girl, that's not what they told me. You know, like it was a shift. Elle Woods inspired not only a generation of people and especially lawyers, but I believe she may have actually introduced a cultural paradigm shift where now everyone had that little archetype in their mind. So that when somebody like me shows up, it's like, oh, here we go, another. But at least it's not like I'm the first thing to do it. It was put out there. So I'm not going to be made to feel bad about being inspired by something that was truly inspirational. She was the valedictorian of Harvard Law School. She made 179 on the LSAT. That's like 1 point away from a perfect score. That's inspirational. That she was pretty and smart and kind and really cared about stuff. And even whenever people were laughing at her and making fun of her for trying to help her dog's mom because he was getting experimented on in Washington, D.C., and she passed a law for it, Elle Woods changed the law. I will not be made to feel bad, embarrassed, or ashamed by being inspired by something truly inspirational. And again, thank you to everybody that made that happen. It truly was inspirational. I think it literally changed the world forever. One of the most profound movies that impacted me. I swore in to become a lawyer when I was a barred to uphold those types of morals. Despite people laughing at you, don't cave. Despite people telling you, don't try to do that, it's too hard, do it. Despite people betraying you, breaking your heart, still keep pushing. And despite everybody looking, acting, talking, and seemingly feeling a certain one way, you can still be putting on your pink suit, literally and metaphorically. You could still be carving out your own way, and you don't have to compromise. You don't, in Elle's situation, have to let the professor you to get where you're going. You don't have to stay silent about it once it happens. Keep your integrity, keep a little bit of tact, and follow your heart. So, random robot commenter in the comment section. What happened to professionalism? The Elle Woods effect. That's all I really had for today. In the meantime, facts ain't defamation, and neither are opinions. Love you, Minike. Bye.
That is from @ThatSurpriseWitness. Okay.
Welcome into my world. You're playing my game. Thought that you could come up and they're fitting off of my knee. Talking out the side of your neck like you're insane. Cortisol levels to the roof. Inflame. Kids these days so shameless. Selling out real friends for a paycheck. Mama didn't teach them no home training. Wanna be me so bad, but they failing. Step to the plate though. I'll take a challenger. I ain't scared of no low life scavenger. I should warn you though, if you haven't heard, I ain't no Colleen ukulele ballager. Shots been fired. Run and tell that. Say it to my face though. Now behind my back. Won't be long till you share it in the group chat. And when I call you up, you're gonna backtrack. And you should've kept my name out.